Tonight we begin a calm and unhurried journey into ancient Egypt. This civilization grew slowly along the banks of the Nile River, surrounded by wide desert and open sky. The land was quiet and still, and the river brought life to everything around it. Each year the Nile flooded gently, leaving behind rich soil that allowed crops to grow. Because the river followed a steady pattern, life in Egypt felt predictable and secure. People settled close to the water and built simple homes from mud brick. Days followed the movement of the sun. Work began in the morning and slowed as the heat of the day passed. Life was shaped by patience rather than urgency. There was time to rest, to observe, and to follow familiar routines. Ancient Egypt endured for thousands of years, not through speed or conquest, but through balance. Its people learned to live in harmony with their environment, trusting the rhythm of the river and the natural order of the world. In ancient Egypt, daily life followed the gentle rhythm of the Nile. Most people were farmers who worked the land close to the river. They planted seeds after the floods and harvested crops when the water returned to its banks. The work was steady and familiar, passed down through generations. Because the seasons were predictable, people felt a quiet sense of security in their daily routines. Homes were simple and practical, built to stay cool during the heat of the day. Inside, families shared meals made from bread, vegetables, and fruit grown nearby. Life was not filled with excess, but with what was needed. Evenings were a time to slow down, to sit together, and to rest after the day's work. Children learned by watching their parents and helping where they could. Skills were taught patiently, without hurry. Life in ancient Egypt was shaped by repetition and care, creating a calm way of living that endured for centuries. Work in ancient Egypt followed the calm rhythm of the land and the seasons. Most people worked as farmers, but others learned crafts that supported daily life. Some shaped stone, some worked with wood, and others created tools and simple objects needed by their communities. These skills were learned slowly and carefully, often passed from parent to child over many years. Stone workers shaped blocks under the open sky, moving patiently and with precision. Their work was not rushed. Each movement was deliberate, guided by experience rather than speed. Craftsmen took pride in creating things that would last, knowing their work served both the living and those who came after. As the day moved forward, activity gradually softened. When evening arrived, work slowed and people returned home. The heat faded, voices grew quieter, and the world settled into rest. Life was not measured by urgency, but by continuity and care. This steady approach allowed Egyptian society to endure generation after generation without losing its sense of calm. Belief played a quiet but important role in daily life in ancient Egypt. The people believed that the world functioned best when balance was maintained between nature, society, and the unseen forces around them. This balance was not something dramatic, but something practiced gently through everyday actions and routines. The Egyptians believed life continued beyond death, and that the soul moved through different stages of existence. Because of this, death was not feared. It was seen as part of a longer journey rather than an ending. This belief brought comfort and patience to daily life. People focused on living well and maintaining harmony rather than rushing or striving for excess. Rulers, known as pharaohs, were seen as guardians of balance rather than distant kings. Their role was to preserve order and continuity. Through belief, routine, and respect for the natural world, ancient Egypt developed a calm and enduring way of life that lasted for thousands of years. Time in ancient Egypt was understood as a continuous cycle rather than a straight line. Days followed nights. Seasons returned each year, and life moved forward in repeating patterns. This view of time encouraged patience and acceptance. There was no need to rush, because everything would come again in its proper moment. The Egyptians carefully observed the movement of the sun, moon, and stars. These observations helped guide farming, festivals, and daily routines. Calendars were created not to control time, but to live in harmony with it. Each task had its season, and each season its purpose. This understanding of time shaped how people lived and worked. Effort was steady rather than frantic. Progress was slow but lasting. By respecting the natural flow of the world, ancient Egypt maintained stability across centuries. Life was lived with the quiet confidence that order would continue, just as it always had. As we come to the end of this quiet journey through ancient Egypt, it is time to let the details soften and fade. You do not need to hold on to any specific images or ideas. The world we have been exploring can now drift gently into the background, just as the desert grows still at night. Imagine the Nile flowing slowly under the stars. The air is warm but calm, and the sounds of the day have faded away. Homes are quiet, and families rest after a long and steady day. The work is done, and there is nothing left to prepare for. Time moves without urgency, guided only by the natural rhythm of the world. Ancient Egypt endured because it trusted this rhythm. Life was shaped by patience, repetition, and balance. Nothing needed to be rushed. Each day followed the last, and each night brought rest before morning returned again. Now you can allow yourself to rest as well. There is nowhere else to go and nothing else to follow. You can simply remain here, breathing slowly, letting your thoughts drift, and allowing sleep to arrive in its own gentle time. Imagine a wide and quiet land where two ancient rivers move steadily across open plains. The air is warm, and the ground is soft with soil carried from distant mountains. This is Mesopotamia, a place shaped slowly by water, sun, and time. The land stretches open beneath a vast sky, with little to interrupt the horizon. Here, the world feels calm and exposed, and life begins by listening to the rhythm of the rivers. Between these flowing waters, people learned to remain. They watched the rivers rise and fall, learning patience and attention through repetition. Days unfolded gently, guided by light, heat, and shade. The land asked for care rather than force, and in return, it offered stability. In this quiet balance between earth and water, Mesopotamia settled into a steady, unhurried beginning. As the sun rises over Mesopotamia, daily life begins without haste. People wake early to take advantage of the cooler air, moving quietly through their homes of mud brick and packed earth. Water is drawn from the river or nearby canals, carried carefully in simple vessels. Meals are modest and familiar, made from grains, dates, and vegetables grown close to home. The routines of the day are steady and repeated, shaped by seasons rather than clocks, and learned through watching others rather than instruction. Work unfolds slowly as the light grows stronger. Some tend fields near the water, guiding irrigation channels with calm attention. Others repair tools, shape clay, or prepare food in shaded spaces. Children stay close, observing and copying what they see. When the heat becomes heavy, movement slows, and rest comes naturally. As evening approaches, Tasks are set aside, and the land cools again. The day ends much as it began, quietly and without urgency, ready to repeat itself with small variations when the sun rises once more. In Mesopotamia, beliefs grow quietly from daily experience. The rivers are watched closely, not only for water and food, but for meaning. When the floods arrive gently, they are welcomed. When they come without warning, they are remembered. People come to feel that unseen forces are always present, shaping events beyond human control. The world is understood as alive and responsive, filled with powers that must be respected rather than challenged. The sky above plays an important role in this understanding. The sun, the moon, and the steady movement of stars are observed night after night. Patterns are noticed and remembered, linking the present to the past. Time feels layered, with each day connected to those that came before. In this way, belief becomes less about certainty and more about attention. To live well is to remain aware, to notice change, and to accept that life moves according to rhythms larger than any single person. In Mesopotamia, work follows the natural rhythm of the day rather than a fixed plan. As the sun rises higher, people turn to tasks they know well and return to each day. Fields near the rivers are tended carefully, with water guided through narrow channels in the soil. The flow is watched closely and adjusted by hand. Too much water can harm the crops, and too little can weaken them. Careful balance matters more than speed. Closer to home, other forms of work continue quietly. Clay is shaped into simple vessels and bricks, then set aside to dry in the sun. Tools are repaired when they wear down, and grain is cleaned and stored for later use. Reeds are woven into mats and baskets, using movements learned through repetition. These skills are not taught with words, but with time and observation. Most work is done near others. People share space without needing constant conversation. Children watch and slowly begin to help. Elders are respected for what they remember rather than what they control. Knowledge moves gently from one person to another. In this way, work becomes more than effort. It becomes a steady pattern that holds the community together, day after day, without hurry. In Mesopotamia, time is not measured in small units. It is felt through repetition and return. Days follow the slow rise and fall of the sun, and nights arrive gently, without urgency. Seasons are marked by changes in water, light, and warmth, rather than fixed dates. The rivers act as quiet guides, reminding people when the land is ready and when it needs rest. Time moves in a wide, patient circle, returning often to what is familiar. Knowledge grows from careful watching. The sky is observed night after night, not for answers, but for patterns. The moon changes shape, stars shift their position, and shadows stretch and shorten with the seasons. These movements are noticed slowly and remembered over many years. What is learned is passed on through stories, habits, and shared experience. Nothing needs to be hurried or fully explained. What matters is continuity. Life feels connected across generations, and steady attention becomes a calm way of understanding the world and one's place within it. As night settles over Mesopotamia, the land grows quiet again. The heat of the day fades slowly, and the ground releases its warmth back into the air. The rivers continue their steady movement, unchanged by darkness. Their sound is soft and familiar, flowing as it always has, without effort or concern. Homes rest in stillness. Fires dim and then disappear. Voices fade until only silence remains. Above, the wide sky deepens, and stars hold their place, steady and calm. Nothing asks for attention now. There is no work to return to, no pattern to remember. The land is at rest, and it invites you to rest as well. Time loosens its shape here. Moments drift without edges. The past and present soften and blend together. Like the rivers, thought can move gently, without direction, without purpose. There is nothing to solve and nothing to hold on to. Let the quiet remain. Let the flow continue on its own. Mesopotamia settles into darkness, patient and unchanging. You can follow that same slow rhythm now, breathing easily, letting awareness fade. The land will remain here, steady and calm, while you drift into sleep. Before the world became loud, before cities rushed and time felt urgent, there was a wide and gentle land shaped by water. Along the slow curves of the Indus River, mornings arrived softly, with pale light touching clay walls and quiet streets. People woke without haste, following rhythms older than memory itself, guided by the steady return of day and night. Here, life unfolded with balance and care, shaped by seasons, flowing water, and calm repetition. There were no grand announcements to begin the day, only movement, breath, and quiet purpose. As we rest beside this ancient river, there is nothing you need to remember or understand. Simply allow the Indus Valley to come into view, slowly and peacefully, as if you were drifting through it, carried by time that moves without pressure, gently welcoming rest and sleep, while the world remains calm around you. In this quiet moment, in the cities of the Indus Valley, daily life moved with quiet regularity. Streets were laid out straight and even, guiding slow footsteps past simple homes built of warm brick. Doors opened to inner courtyards where light and air could rest, and water was never far away. People drew water calmly, cooked simple meals, and shared space without urgency. Children followed familiar paths, while adults tended small tasks that returned each day in gentle cycles. There was time to pause, to sit in shade, to notice the breeze moving along the walls. Nothing demanded haste. The day unfolded in small, careful moments, shaped by routine rather than command. As hours passed, the city remained steady and composed, holding its people quietly, as if daily life itself was designed to feel balanced, predictable, and safe. In this steady rhythm, evening arrived softly, and nothing felt out of place. Each motion repeated, familiar and calm, allowing minds to settle without effort. Here, routine became a quiet comfort. For the people of the Indus Valley, beliefs were woven quietly into daily life. Meaning was found not in grand temples or loud ceremony, but in balance, cleanliness, and gentle order. Water held a special place, used carefully and respectfully, moving through the city as a source of renewal. The natural world was not something to control, but something to live alongside, season after season. Patterns repeated, offering reassurance rather than instruction. There was comfort in harmony, and spaces kept orderly and calm, in rhythms that returned each day. Belief did not demand attention. It rested quietly in routine, in shared habits, and in the steady flow of life. In this way, understanding was felt rather than spoken, allowing thoughts to soften and drift as the world remained calm, patient, and quietly meaningful. Work in the Indus Valley followed the same gentle rhythm as daily life. Hands shaped clay into bricks, thread into cloth, and simple tools into useful forms. Each task repeated patiently over time. Markets were quiet places of exchange, where goods moved steadily rather than quickly, guided by familiarity and trust. People worked close to home, sharing skills passed down through observation and calm instruction. There was no need for urgency. Craft was not separated from life, but woven into it, as natural as walking or resting. The city supported this balance, offering space for work, rest, and quiet connection. Society moved together without display, held by cooperation rather than command. In this steady environment, effort never felt heavy, and work itself became another calm pattern, allowing the mind to remain settled and at ease. Time in the Indus Valley was not measured with urgency, but felt through change and return. Days followed the movement of light, and seasons arrived in quiet sequence, guiding planting, rest, and renewal. Knowledge lived within the city itself, in straight streets, steady water systems, and spaces shaped for balance rather than display. There was no need to mark each moment. Order existed naturally, supporting life without drawing attention to itself. People understood their place through repetition and familiarity, learning by watching and doing, year after year. In this gentle structure, time passed without pressure. Nothing needed to be hurried or held onto. The flow of life continued calmly, allowing thoughts to slow, loosen, and drift, as the mind follows these steady patterns toward rest. As the Indus Valley settles into evening, the city continues without effort. Streets remain quiet, water moves softly through familiar paths, and warm brick walls hold the last traces of daylight. There is nothing left to follow and nowhere you need to go. Life carries on gently, whether it is noticed or not. You can allow the city to fade into the background, just as thoughts begin to slow and soften. Breathing becomes steady, and attention loosens its grip. The river flows on, unchanged and unhurried, moving through the night as it always has. You do not need to stay with the story. The Indus Valley remains, calm and steady, while you rest. Let the rhythm continue on its own, as you drift comfortably toward sleep, supported by quiet repetition, gentle darkness, and the feeling of being safely carried by time. Imagine a vast and quiet land, where long rivers move slowly through wide valleys and open plains. The air is soft, and distant mountains rest beneath layers of mist. This is ancient China, shaped by flowing water, changing seasons, and patient time. The Yellow River and the Yangtze travel calmly across the land, carrying silt and life, their movements steady and unbroken. The horizon feels broad and settled, and the land seems to breathe in long, even rhythms. Here, life begins with observation. People watch the sky, the water, and the land, learning when to move and when to wait. Days unfold gently, guided by light, weather, and the turning of the seasons. Villages rest close to the rivers, built from earth and wood, blending quietly into their surroundings. Nothing demands attention. The land invites calm awareness, and ancient China settles into a slow, enduring stillness, where time feels deep and change arrives without hurry. As morning arrives in ancient China, daily life begins quietly and without urgency. People rise with the light, listening to the sounds of water, wind, and distant birds. Homes made of earth and wood hold the cool of the night, releasing it slowly as the day warms. Water is drawn from nearby rivers or wells, carried carefully for cooking and washing. Simple meals are prepared from rice, grains, and vegetables, familiar and nourishing. Work follows the rhythm of the land. Fields are tended with steady movements, guided by long practice rather than instruction. Irrigation channels are checked and cleared, allowing water to flow gently where it is needed. Others remain closer to home, repairing tools, weaving, or preparing food for later use. Children stay nearby, watching and learning through quiet observation. When the sun grows stronger, activity slows naturally. Rest comes without guilt, and the day settles into a calm pattern that repeats itself, steady and unhurried. In ancient China, beliefs grow slowly from close attention to the natural world. The land, the sky, and the changing seasons are watched with care. People come to feel that everything is connected, moving together in quiet balance. When harmony is present, life feels steady. When it is disturbed, change follows. This understanding shapes how people see themselves, not as separate from the world, but as part of its larger rhythm. The sky holds special meaning. The movement of the sun, the moon, and the stars is observed night after night, calm and predictable. These patterns suggest order rather than chaos. Time feels continuous, stretching backward and forward beyond any single life. Wisdom is found not in control, but in alignment. To live well is to move gently with the flow of the world, accepting change without resistance and allowing life to unfold at its own quiet pace. In ancient China, work is shaped by long familiarity with the land. Each day brings tasks that are known and expected, carried out with steady movements and little need for instruction. Fields near the rivers are carefully tended, with attention given to soil, water, and timing. Crops are planted and harvested according to the seasons, guided by patterns remembered over many years. Nothing is forced. The land responds best to patience and care. Beyond the fields, other forms of work continue quietly. Tools are shaped from wood and metal, repaired when worn, and used until they can no longer serve. Cloth is woven slowly, thread by thread, and pottery is formed from clay drawn from nearby earth. These skills are learned through watching and repeating, passed from one generation to the next, without urgency. People work close to one another, sharing space and routine, allowing silence to settle comfortably between them. Life is organized around family and community. Roles are understood through habit rather than command. Elders are respected for their memory and experience, while younger members learn by observing and assisting. Cooperation keeps daily life moving smoothly, especially during planting and harvest. Work is not something to finish, but something to return to. In this steady rhythm of shared effort, society holds together quietly, day after day, without hurry or strain. In ancient China, time is felt as a slow and continuous flow. Days follow the movement of light and shadow, and seasons return in familiar patterns. The passing of time is understood through change in the land, the growth of crops, and the shifting of weather. Nothing arrives suddenly. Everything moves gradually, allowing people to prepare, adjust, and remember. Knowledge grows from careful attention over many years. The sky is watched for signs of change, and the land is observed for subtle signals. What is learned is not rushed or written quickly. It is held in memory, shared through stories, habits, and daily practice. Each generation adds quietly to what came before, preserving balance rather than seeking control. In this way, life feels connected across time, steady and unbroken, like a long river flowing gently forward. As night settles over ancient China, the land grows quiet and still. The warmth of the day fades slowly, and the air becomes soft and cool. Rivers continue their gentle movement, flowing through the darkness without pause. Their sound is calm and familiar, steady and unchanging, like a slow breath moving through the land. Homes rest in silence, fires dim and then disappear, leaving only faint warmth behind. Paths between villages grow empty, and the world feels wide and peaceful. Above, the sky deepens into dark blue, and stars appear, one by one, holding their places without movement. There is nothing to follow and nothing to decide. Time loosens here. Thoughts can slow and drift without effort. The past and present soften and blend together like mist settling over fields. Breathing becomes easy and natural, and the body can rest without holding on to anything. The land remains steady through the night. Rivers flow, stars remain, and the world continues quietly on its own. You do not need to stay alert. Let the stillness deepen. Ancient China rests beneath the night sky, patient and enduring, and you can rest as well, drifting gently towards sleep. The 4 clocks, before written history, the Maya listened to the sky. They watched the stars move slowly overhead and shaped their lives around that quiet motion. The land of the Maya rests beneath a warm and steady sky. Dense forests spread across low hills and open plains. Rivers move slowly through the green earth, reflecting soft light as the day passes. Stone cities rise quietly from the jungle, shaped over long periods of time. The air feels heavy and calm, filled with distant natural sounds. This is a world guarded by seasons, rain, and sunlight, where change happens gradually. The Maya lived across parts of southern Mexico and Central America. Their environment included thick jungle, limestone ground, and low coastal regions. Water was often hidden underground, stored in natural wells and caves. The land could be generous, but only when treated with care. Over many generations, people learned how to live in balance with these conditions. Small settlements and larger cities formed where life could be sustained without force. As evening comes, the forest cools and darkens. The sky opens into quiet darkness filled with stars. Firelight glows softly among trees and stone. Everything slows. This calm rhythm shaped daily life for the Maya. Time moved gently here, guided by nature and careful observation. In this peaceful setting, the story of the Maya begins. Daily life for the Maya followed the steady rhythm of the natural world. People rose with the light and rested as the day softened into evening. The forest and the fields shaped each day, offering work and shelter. Movement was unhurried. Tasks repeated often, becoming familiar and calm. Most families lived in simple homes made from wood, stone, and earth. These homes stood near gardens and open spaces. Cooking fires burned quietly as meals were prepared from maize, beans, and squash. Food was grown close by and shared within a household, tying daily life closely to the land. Work filled the daylight hours. Some tended crops, while others shaped stone, wove cloth, or carried water. Children learned by watching and helping, moving alongside older hands. There was little separation between learning and doing. Life unfolded through repetition. As the sun lowered, activity slowed. People gathered near their homes, resting and speaking softly. The day released its weight. Night came gently, bringing cooler air and quiet rest. For the Maya, the world was deeply connected. The land, the sky, and the passing of time were part of the same whole. Nothing stood alone. People saw themselves as moving within nature, not above it, guided by patterns that repeated quietly. The sky held great meaning. The sun, moon, and stars rose and returned in steady cycles. These movements taught that time was not a straight line. Endings flowed into beginnings. Change came without urgency, and return was always possible. Spirits were believed to exist throughout the world. Forests, rivers, caves, and stones held presence and meaning. Sacred places were part of everyday life, not distant or separate. A cave could connect worlds. A tree could link earth and sky. Rituals were calm and measured. They marked seasons and moments of change. Repeated gently over time, they offered order and reassurance. Through these beliefs, the Maya found balance and calm within the rhythm of the world. Work shaped daily life for the Maya. Most effort centered on the land. Fields were planted and tended by hand. Maize was essential and required steady care. Farming followed seasons rather than speed. Some people practiced simple crafts. Stone became tools for daily use. Clay became vessels for cooking and storage. Cloth was woven slowly at home. Skills were learned by watching and repeating. Knowledge passed quietly over time. Families lived close together and shared their work. Roles formed through experience rather than command. Order came from custom and memory, reinforced through daily routine. Buildings rose slowly within cities. Stones were placed with care over many years. When the day ended, work paused. The body rested. Evening arrived without urgency. The Maya experienced time as a gentle cycle. Days followed nights. Seasons returned again and again. Nothing moved in a straight line. What had passed was not gone, but resting, waiting to return in another form. Careful watching shaped understanding. The movement of the sun and moon was noted quietly. Shadows changed across stone. Stars shifted slowly in the night sky. These patterns were remembered and shared, not hurried or forced. Knowledge grew through patience. Counting days helped bring order and calm. Time was not an enemy to be chased. It was a companion, moving at its own pace. Each moment had a place within a larger flow. Waiting was natural. Repetition brought comfort. Through this steady awareness, life felt continuous. Past, present, and future were connected. Nothing needed to be rushed. Everything arrived when it was ready. As the night deepens, the Maya world grows quiet. The forest settles into stillness. The warmth of the day slowly leaves the ground. Breath becomes softer. Movement fades into rest. Firelight dims and steadies. Shadows stretch across stone and earth, then remain still. The air cools. Thoughts loosen and drift away. There's nothing left to remember and nothing left to plan. Time continues on its own, without effort. Above, the sky remains wide and patient. Stars hold their places without sound. The world moves forward gently, even as everything feels at rest. Nothing needs attention. Nothing needs to be held. The body grows heavy. Muscles relax. The mind slows and wanders without direction. Awareness softens. Rest arrives naturally. In this quiet space, sleep comes slowly and safely. It settles in its own time. The night continues, calm and unbroken.